What's up, my people? Let's break down the neuroscience or the chemistry. The chemistry. The chemistry behind being black and broke. What is the chemistry? And I know I usually come from a spiritual or a religious perspective. But today we want to look at it and we want to talk about biology. We want to really look at what happens to the body inside of a quote unquote black, African American, melanated, colored, whatever term, whatever label, or whatever limit that you want to place upon an unlimited, all-knowing, all-power, all-present, all-simple, and all-loving frequency, wave, verbal vibration. As you can see, I'm never retired. What does that mean, though? That simply means that I'm always evolving. I'm going from glory to glory to glory. And one of the things that comes up a lot doing all of my counseling, all of my books, all my seminars, is being black in America, being black and being broke, being melanated around the world, courtesy of the United States government. I've had the opportunity to travel around the globe, and no matter where I go, no matter what country, the darker the skin, then the more cage you are in. There is something about black. There's something about, melanin that frightens people, that makes them nervous. I know, especially going into leadership, when you're getting into management and you have someone that is not you working for you, there is this energy, there is this disdain. So the most important key of over and understanding is the effects of operating and vibrating and living and existing. Feelings, because feelings create the feel. So we never really talk about feelings. We talk about, hope. We like to march and we like to picket. We like to do all of those things as black people. But it's very interesting that why are black people so religious? Well, when you don't have nothing to hold on to, you need hope. And it's very interesting that most of my Caucasian friends are not very religious. People who have a lot of money, as the Bible even talks about it, it's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter into heaven. Because when you have an assurance, when you have a feeling, I've been on both sides of the coin, and it's amazing to wake up every morning. What does it feel like to wake up every morning and not have a concern, not have a care, not have a worry from a financial perspective? Then what does it feel like to wake up every day and not know where your next meal is going to come from? What does it feel like to wake up every day and be worried? What does it feel like to wake up every day and be concerned? What does it feel like to wake up every day with this stress, with this struggle, with this awareness? What does it feel like every single day that in the back of the brain, you know that you're one paycheck away, or you know that if you lose your job, that you know that there's a possibility that you got to go move back in with mama, or that you may be on government assistance? What does it feel like growing up, always being aware that there's a possibility? Well, that's oppression. That's depression. That's recession. That's possession. That's religious psychosis. That is this ability to see and to over and understand that the chemistry. So your body creates chemistry. You're your own pharmacist. I talk about this inside of my other book entitled God's Medicine. So your body releases endorphins. It releases serotonin and melatonin and dopamine and oxytocin and vasopressin. All of these are chemicals that are released in the body when the body is in a state where when you feel secure, when you feel safe, when you are in an environment. But what happens when you are raised or you're unable to create that environment for yourself from a chemical perspective? Well, the chemistry of black economic power is based upon three primary components that I break down inside the book. That includes oxytocin, vasopressin, and dopamine. Let's jump right in. And again, this is just a brief and a short intro into a deeper topic and a deeper understanding. This is the chemistry of black economic power. Whoops, sorry about that. Let me flip this back around. It is this over understanding of these three chemicals. So what is the problem? Well, the problem is global, systematic, organized oppression, depression, which leads to recession. Recession is a voluntary stoppage of normal activity. That leads to possession. So most colored folks are possessed. But we think possession is evil. We don't know that possession is nothing but a reticular activating system activation. Possession simply means that the brain is occupied with a frequency, wave, verb, and vibration that is not based upon love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, and self-control. The next problem inside of the melanated community is we are unable to trace our heritage and our lineage back. We are suffering from a ancestral disconnection. In other words, can you trace back your heritage and lineage without using, Ancestry.com or any of the melanated websites to assist you? So most of us, for example, Italians can go back to Italy. Chinese people can go back to Japan. Japanese people can go back to Japan. Chinese people can go back to China. Filipinos can go back to the Philippines. Puerto Ricans can go back to Puerto Rico. But black Americans can go back to where? Guys, most black Americans are not from Africa. You're actually probably a Moor or a Native American. But since they changed your identity and they rob you of your ancestral heritage. So most people, if you were to talk to your grandmother's grandmother, and they probably Cherokee, or they're just like when doing my family lineage with the research that I did on my own, it came back Native American. And most black people are from the Americas. Not all, but most. Then there's the lack of the original spiritual practice of your ancestors. So this lack of proper spiritual identification. So as we look at the problem a little closer, we see these three frequencies: slave mentality, no identity, and in the place of spirituality, we have religion. The solution is sovereignty, returning back to your own source, meaning you are the resource, and then your own spirituality. Why? Because to have more, you got to do more. But to do more, you got to be more. That's the problem. The problem is that we are trying to do more, to make more money, to be in better health. But we can't do more until we be more. But we can't be more until we deal with what is separating us from our proper being state. We are being what? See, you're being black, but that's not who you are. Black is the absence of all color and the inclusion of all color. White is the absence of all color. White is the absence of hue. Therefore, black and white means the same thing. Black and white is two sides of the same coin. I'm pausing for theatrical effect. You might want to do some research, bro. So, let me make sure you understand. What does it feel to grow up in an environment? Me, I'm just speaking for myself personally. I'm a black man living in America. Why did I go into law enforcement? Why did I go into the Marines? Why did I go into corrections? Why did I go into these fields that deal with justice? I unconsciously wanted to over and understand, why do I feel like I'm being followed every time I go into a retail shop? If I get in my vehicle late at night and a cop pulled behind me, before I became a cop, I used to be nervous. Why do most people, black, feel? It's not real, but you feel it. You feel the feeling of driving while black. You know it. I don't care where you live at. If you're black and you're in America, you feel something. What do you feel? It is systematic. It is organized. Now, sure, there are some pockets of individual racism, but it's not individual anymore. It's global now. I mean, it's always been. It's organized. It's systematic. Look at the current regime. Look at the current administration. How many melanated people are in offices of leadership? I'm asking for a friend. Now, what does that mean? Don't mean nothing. At least for me, it doesn't mean anything. What's the point? The point is, how does it make you feel? Even in religion, how does it make you feel knowing that you are well done? How does it make you feel? Do you feel jovial, happy, upbeat, excited? That's what money is. Money is a feeling. Black people don't have that feeling. Now, I talk to Negroes all the time, and they give me this religious, regurgitated answer that they got from some reverend doctor or bishop. But I know deep down inside, because I sense and feel the energy. So I don't listen to what people say. I notice how they make me feel. Because what you feel becomes real. So the question, going back again, how you feel, black man? How you feel, black woman? Even all my Caucasian friends, that when they're honest, they feel sorry for us. Because they know the system is flawed. On the individual level, they are unable to change redlining. They're unable to change, hidden racism. They're unable to change on an individual level. How come you got passed up for that promotion on your job? Or how come when you go to the store that the loss prevention agent, which I used to be, and it was interesting, even when I went to the law enforcement academy, and it's hidden, and they bring it up and they say it's just like police officers are more inclined to pull over a red sports car than a black sports car. Why? Because it's unconscious. It's below the threshold of your consciousness or your awareness. But that doesn't stop it from happening. You drive a red sports car, your chances of getting pulled over is a lot higher than someone who's driving a black sports car, because you stand out. The brain picks it up. It notices it. Racism is no different. See, when you feel oppressed, over time, it leads to another feeling. Remember, oppression is cruel, harsh, and unjust treatment. You know it's not fair, man. Come on. It is difficult because there's going to be some black person who's going to disagree with the statements that I'm making. And everybody lives on the level of their awareness. There is no right or wrong answer. Everybody feel or gets the feeling. You get to feel. You have the right. We all do. We have the right to feel anything that you want to feel. Totally up to you. Because you see the world as you are. You don't see the world as the world is. That's why we need grace. We need to create space. We need to create room for everybody to feel whatever it is that they want to feel. Because everybody lives on the level of their awareness. Your job and my job is to increase the level of your awareness. That's what the scripture talks about. Going from glory to glory to glory. You're always evolving because you can only hold. You live on the level of your awareness. So if you have a small awareness, then you're going to have a small life. You're going to have small wealth, small health, small wisdom, and small relationships. Now, it's extremely important that you understand, brothers and sisters, that oxytocin, vasopressin, and dopamine, along with serotonin and melatonin, endorphins and all the other feel-good chemicals that are released in the brain after you establish a feeling. So if you never establish that feeling, you never release those chemicals. And so the goal is the whole thing, as I mentioned before when I talked about white privilege. The reason why white privilege is a privilege is because it automatically produces those chemicals because you wake up in the morning feeling something. So the advantage, whether they are aware, they've been white people, Caucasians, whether they are aware of it or not, there's an advantage because they don't suffer from the feeling. What feeling? There's a feeling that you have growing up in America. The feeling is it is a global, it is oppression. You feel oppressed. It's not no one individual's fault. Usually, it's organized. It's like every organization that I went in. I love the United States Marine Corps, but the United States Marine Corps is the most racist organization I've ever been a part of. Just recently, the United States Marine Corps just promoted the first black 4-star general in the United States Marine Corps history. And this is 2026. When I was in the United States Marine Corps, I ran into one black officer, Captain Caldwell. I'll always remember him. And I saw him, me, my brothers, and the other black Marines, we saw this dude. He looked like us, man. It was like seeing God. Seeing a Marine officer in uniform and his dress blues. It was like seeing God. I mean, think about it. Doesn't take much, especially growing up here in the South. Now, maybe you from Philly. I don't know what it's like growing up in Philadelphia. Supposedly it's more black conscious. I don't know what it feels like growing up in the ATL. I don't know what it feels like growing up in Chicago. I'm only speaking for, I grew up in Texas. So there's a lot of good old boys down here in Texas. But what is the point? The point is, not only is there that feeling of oppression, there's a lack of historical connection and ancestral connection. That's number 2. And the third thing that creates a lack of feeling, where you feel the same thing that white people feel when they wake up. Privilege, entitlement, rights. I got rights, bro. I mean, this is why I love talking to white people, because they speak from a place of heritage, rights. This is wrong. It's very interesting when you see two white people get into a disagreement, because both parties believe inherently. It's not learned. They're born with a mindset of privilege that I wasn't born with, and no other black person that I know. They say they're out there. I just haven't met one. I'm talking about born with it. I'm not talking about learned. Now, I learned it. I learned how to carry myself as if. I learned how to speak up for myself. I learned how to say, no, man, this ain't right. But I'm also aware, because I see it on TV every day just like you do. Even though you're right, their cop will still pull you over, slam you on the dirt face first, put your ass in handcuffs. Today. Even though you ain't done nothing wrong. And 99.99% of the time, it's because of the color of your skin. Now, people don't like to talk about this topic. I get it. It's uncomfortable. We just want to sweep it under the rug. Nobody want to be real when it comes to understanding the chemistry of black economic poverty and disenfranchisement. Just look at what's going on with the voting, with the redistricting and the attempt. So this lack of understanding language creates division. Language divides us. It doesn't connect us. What happened at the Tower of Babel? It created division. But before, they all had one language, they was on one accord, and there was nothing that they couldn't accomplish. according to the Bible. I know this is not W. Rogers. That's the Bible. It's in there, bro. You guys got to read it. So language creates division. If you really want to mess something up, focus on language, focus on race, focus on gender instead of focusing on spirit. Because the Bible says if you walk in the spirit, you cannot and you will not fulfill the lust of the flesh. So we got to focus on spirit. That's why there's a promotion of flesh. There's a promotion of gender. There's a promotion of race. That's why I'm talking about it. To help you understand that that ain't the solution, that's the problem. The problem is the focus. 100% time on the problem. What is the solution? 3 keys to the solution. I break it down inside the book, which is why I highly recommend you pick up the book. This is the solution. You got to be cause. You got to be the cause. There's no way out. Talk about that. No matter what happens, you got to be the cause. How do you be the cause? Number 1, you got to be sovereign. I break that down. Number 2, you got to be source. I break that down. Number 3, you got to be spiritual. Regardless of where you are in the world, and you're black, if you don't have these 3 attributes and characteristics, Negro, you're in trouble. You can't go and get sovereignty, Negro. You are sovereign. You can't go and worship or get source. You are source. You can't go and worship and get spirit. You are spirit. The fact that the average keep it on does not under, and understand sovereignty, source, and spirituality. Keep your day job, bruh. I mean, not you personally, but people you know. So these chemicals are released during a certain frequency, wave, verb, and vibration. So the real reason that black people are broke is lack of oxytocin, lack of vasopressin, and lack of dopamine that's caused by systematic oppression, lack of historical heritage, and religious psychosis. Again, Negro, I'm not here to debate. I'm here to educate. I can find facts to prove any statement that I make the same way you can find facts to prove any statement that you make. Just some statements are higher than others. Now, the brain doesn't work on facts. The brain works upon what's frequently repeated. The universe doesn't work on facts or truth. The universe also works on identity. The universe mirrors back to you the most predominant thought that's inside of you. Let me say that again, slow. The universe mirrors back to you the most predominant. It's called possession, oppression, depression, recession, possession. So whatever thought you're possessed with, look at what possession. So you possess your possessions based upon your possession. Okay, yeah. We're going to leave that alone. Get the book. Another study for another time. So oxytocin, vasopressin, dopamine, they rise anytime there's a safe connection. Anytime someone lives in purpose, anytime that purpose creates action or movement, and that action or movement creates results. Then you can add in some good food, and that creates what we call wealth. But they are blocked anytime you're in an environment of chronic stress, isolation, sleep loss, inflammation, and processed foods, which is where most of us live. So the key is what? You must identify. You must be able to be more in identity or mindset. Your mind must be full of wealth, health, wisdom, and great relationships. In order for you to do more, the mind must be more. So when the mind is more, the actions are more. And when the actions are more, the results are more. So the $1 billion question is, how do you be more? How do you, as an individual expression of God on earth, how do you be more? I'm so glad you asked. Pick up the books, or the book, and the audio series of Black Economic Power, White Privilege, and Being Black and Broke. These 3 are inside of one book. 3 chapters inside of one book that reveals, explains, illuminates, simplifies that you can't do more to have more. Most people are trying to do more, especially us melanated people. Man, I'm getting more. I'm going to work harder. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's not how it works. So you can't do more to have more. To have more, you must be more. Then you can do more. See, when you be more, you can do more. When you do more, you can have more. And when you have more, but it all starts with being. Because being is a mental state that creates what? Chemicals. These chemicals make you feel love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, and self-control. So these feel-good chemicals are released inside of the brain whenever you maintain the brain. So whenever you bring every thought into captivity and see if it is of God. Whenever you decide to elevate your consciousness to the highest level of the game. So you're an individual expression of God on earth. But you don't think that way. Because religion tells you something different. Your supervisor on your job tells you something different. Your environment that you live in, they don't celebrate you, nigga. They just tolerate you. I mean, I'm pausing again for a theatrical effect. Where can you go, black man? Where can you go, black woman, where you are elevated instead of tolerated? I mean, I'm asking for a friend. Hopefully you can go home. So if you can't go to your house and your mate and your family, your shearings, they don't celebrate you. And they don't elevate you. You just, hey, you come home and everybody like, hey, well, nobody even speaks. It's like you don't even, like you're not even there. Bruh. Ooh-wee. Get out. But don't tell them what I told you. Man, I love you. Make sure you pick up the book and the audio today. Guess what? Black economic power is back. Holla at your boy. Because me and you, and all of us together, we're going to operate on a level where there is no devil. Holla at your boy.